Welcome to Duality Check, the podcast where two brothers embark on a journey through the realms of scientific inquiry, the mysteries of the past, and the uncharted frontiers of spirituality. Join us as we explore the wonders of our world and beyond, all while embracing the roles of curious bystanders rather than experts. Together we'll unravel the tapestry of existence, blending the dichotomies of knowledge and wonder. Get ready to question, ponder, and delve into the dualities that shape our understanding of reality on Duality Check. I'm Drew.
And I'm Dean, and welcome to episode 81. I think today we're going to keep going on this alien interview. We're getting pretty far into it.
Yeah, and it's bringing up a lot of cool conversations. And
yeah.
So we're going to keep going with this.
I think we'll get probably through the whole history section where they have everything broken off in dates.
Yeah, which has been super fun to go through and hear about and talk about and try to correlate it with the known stuff or at least the postulated stuff that history tells us.
The next chapter after this one is called A Lesson in Biology, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
Sweet. So anyway,
yeah, we got a few little clips and videos to go through that we both collected throughout the week.
Yeah. So let's check out. We actually got an email too.
Oh, cool.
From Mr. Moose Canoo. He says, "What up, G Lover brothers? Are you familiar with the cult of Saturn? This article is the best rabbit hole I've tripped down in quite some time. There is a compelling link between the hexagonal storm at the crown of Saturn and the black cube. Symbolic representations of the black cube are embedded deep within the worshipful practices of all three Abrahamic religions. The Kabbalah is the destination of Muslim, or the Kaaba is the destination of Muslims on their pilgrimage to Mecca. It's a huge cube-shaped building that thousands of people circle around like the rings of Saturn. Jewish prayer tradition has seekers wear black leather cubes on their foreheads, positioned coincidentally near the third eye, with sacred parchment texts within. Finally, the Christian cross is simply a Euclidean cube that has been unfolded. Don't forget halos above the heads on all the holy figures, including Jesus, rings of Saturn. All these religious symbols point back to Saturn worship and whatever true function the black cube serves. But why? Saturn is closely associated with power, time, chaos, and sexuality. All of our favorite things. This is where the concrete material examples blend into more esoteric speculation. Some believe religion was designed as a snared trap in order to redirect all of our spiritual energy back into Saturn. That's quite a stretch of imagination in my book. However, the word Saturn is pretty close to Set, the Egyptian god of evil, and also a lot like the word Satan.
Yeah.
Then he leaves a link and says, "Rest in peace, Moose." P.S. Let's be honest. We all love post-apocalyptic stories because we secretly desire a world with less technology.
Yep, that's true.
That's an interesting point.
Okay, so this is a link to tradefxp.com, blogs.tradefxp.com.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's like a whole article on this topic.
Saturn worship and the black cube unveiling the occultic world. Interesting. Okay, so it sounds like his email was sort of a
setup for another episode.
Was almost like a summary of this.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Very cool.
It's not a very long article.
Yeah, but at our speed of reading, it'll take like 2 segments to go through. So I'll leave the link for you guys.
I wonder if there's more to
read it.
But it kind of reminds me of what we had talked about or what was brought up during the Secret History of the World episodes.
Yes. So in Secret History, he makes the connection between Saturn and Satan. Well, he specifically says that Saturn is associated with Satan, and that Lucifer is associated with Venus, the
Right.
morning star.
Right. They're
And
actually two separate things. Yeah.
specifically says that they are separate things. In Christianity, the idea of like Satan and Lucifer and the devil, these are all terms that get intermixed and like combined into one entity, or sort of similar to how like,
Jesus and God.
well, like Yahweh and Jehovah and Lord and God all get mixed into the same entity,
right.
even though there are different words being used a lot of times. So,
with a lot of like historical differences in the way that they came about.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting.
I think, I mean, your email checks out with like what we've been reading with the secret history of the world.
As far as the modern day occultic practices, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this is all news to me as far as like how the Abrahamic religions tie into it. And so the black cube, what I think maybe we didn't necessarily spell out is that if you look at a cube from an isometric angle, it looks like a hexagon.
Yeah.
And that the storm on Saturn at the top is a hexagonal
shape. Yeah.
Right. So that's the connection between like the black cube and Saturn, is that he's asserting, and he's also asserting the rings and different symbols that are tying to the rings.
Well, and that he connected to the Jewish star, and then also the Christian cross, because if you unfold, if you go top-down view of a cube and you fold out the side and you fold out the top and the bottom, it actually looks like a cross if you were to like dissect, like, kind of unfold the cube. So, okay.
And the Jewish star is basically traces out the shape of a hexagon itself. So, yeah. So
there are connections. There are connections at least to that.
Can connect, but I just don't know
about connecting
what it means, though.
Right.
Does that mean that this symbolism is to show that these religions are actually some form of Satan worship or Saturn worship? I mean, kind of where I'm at with the Abrahamic religions is that they most likely are continuations of earlier pagan religions, and that they have a lot of the pagan symbology sort of re-hidden within the Christian context, right? And so we end up with weird rituals and symbols that don't necessarily make a ton of sense outside of like a pagan context, like Christmas trees and Santa Claus and
well, that makes sense. So if you think about psilocybin,
sure, but they don't necessarily make sense in the Christian worldview on its own. Yeah. Anyway,
those are more modern things.
Great email, thank you, man.
Appreciate it, Moose Canoo.
I want to read this article, and maybe we'll talk about that some more.
Maybe that'll lead to a podcast or a YouTube video, and we'll make an episode out of it.
Yeah.
The way we do things and how long it takes us to we go on so many tangents. So
for sure. All right, what's this here?
Oh yeah, so this is something that I came across scrolling Facebook the other day, and it just is like a real world example of acoustic levitation happening on a small pebble underneath a tire, while there looks like they're like it sounds like they're like putting air into it. So it's like this like effect that's happening on a rock. So let's take a look real quick. Kind of got to look real close to it. But you can see that rock. You hear the air pump right out next to a tire, and you see a small little pebble that's like floating in
weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Rotating on its own. You see ants going by. Look at that.
Huh.
So it's a small pebble, but
That's crazy.
look at that.
Yeah.
It's not touching.
Chuck Mack comments, and that's how the pyramids were built.
That's what I thought immediately
Yeah.
too.
I mean, the problem is like how
The
do you
amount of
scale
energy.
this up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the amount of energy and frequencies you'd need, power to.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it makes you like I think to get to power levels that would be able to lift like large stones,
Megatons, yeah.
you'd have to increase the amplitude of the wave, the sound wave, right?
Mhm.
You couldn't just
You could find the
you
frequency.
couldn't play a really quiet sound. It would have to be the sound would have to get louder and louder and louder for the bigger and bigger stones that you move, I would think. And the problem with that is you can only go so loud before you just blow out your ears. So
Yeah, I mean, unless there's some sort of like other frequency that can also match, but it doesn't have to be amplified, or at least when it's amplified, it's not like audible to like human hearing or something.
yeah.
Like if it's some sort of like other frequency that we aren't tuned into.
Yeah, there's got to be a mix of like amplitude and frequency, right? So like with a small rock like that, like you would think a smaller frequency, like so say it's creating some sort of like standing wave, right?
Mhm,
Like, do you know how this works? Like
Yeah.
if you have a rope and you whip it like this, a wave will pass through it. But if you keep whipping it at the right frequency, then what you'll end up with is like, let's say you do
A static.
2 waves per the length of the rope. So what you could end up with is like a wave where it's like up and down, and then it just flips. That's a standing wave.
So you don't see the movement of it. You're just seeing it flip.
Yeah. And when you get standing waves like that, they actually amplify the amplitude that gets way bigger than it would be otherwise, because it's actually a wave going one direction combining with a wave going the other direction. They're just in perfect phase to where they add to each other.
Right.
So you
And
could
they're focused on a specific point. They're focused so like the waves are
Right.
matching.
So-
So whatever's in the center is where the energy is focused.
So maybe you could like surround something and have waves coming to match in such a way that they become standing waves right at that object. Or maybe, but you would also think you maybe need to use lower frequencies for larger size objects too, because to make that standing wave bigger, to encapsulate a larger stone, the wave has to be bigger, so lower frequency. So I don't know. It seems like pretty advanced acoustic technology if it is the way this stuff is done. And I would just want to know like what technology are they using for producing those waves? Maybe. I don't know.
No, I mean, and you'd have to think too, if you're moving stones, whatever it is, whatever technology it is, has to be able to move along with it.
Right.
So it's not. It can't be something that's just like some machine on the other side of the world, unless they had some like directed energy weapon or like some satellite that could like somehow pinpoint the location.
I mean, a satellite wouldn't necessarily work because we're talking
right? Yeah,
we're talking pressure waves, and
Yeah,
the
you would
satellites
need-
would be outside the atmosphere.
You need
but-
the atmosphere.
You could do something. Well, maybe you could do something with satellites to excite the atmosphere in a certain way that creates acoustic waves. That's a possibility. Sort of similar to how the SAR Doppler tomography for Giza.
Right.
It's using electromagnetic waves to read the acoustic disturbances of the ground. So it's actually reading an acoustic signal using an electromagnetic signal. Anyway, there may be ways that you can use electromagnetic waves to excite the atmosphere in such a way that it creates acoustic.
So
properties.
what if they're like, because there's just all this talk about what's going on underneath the plateau of Giza. What if there was some sort of like resonant frequency matcher or some sort of ability for underground, there be some sort of satellite or ship or something that's out in the atmosphere, and it's able to pinpoint and use acoustics to like move it. And then once it gets into place near the Giza Plateau, it's able to like shape it and move it into place because it has like a matching. So it's able to do that standing wave where it's like coming in from one direction, but it matches it coming back, and it's able to like hold it in a I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Earth itself has some sort of properties like that. Maybe they had some sort of knowledge of like the Earth itself has the ability to match frequencies, and because like you saw there, right? Like there's nothing surrounding that rock except for the acoustics all around it. But
right,
for it to be caught into, I mean, it's spinning too, so it's not like it's not just sitting still. It's like rapidly, so something's moving. The acoustics are moving across it in one direction,
right, causing it to rotate. I don't know. Super cool.
It's cool though.
I think acoustic levitation. I mean, there's scientists. We've showed videos of this in the past. Like they're making advancements in acoustic levitation. Like they can create standing waves and just like drop little things right in the spots, and they'll just
levitate
float there.
Yep.
But that does require a very specific like surrounding sound setup. So yeah,
unless you're able to have the entire atmosphere be excited and like in a location.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily want to lift all the rocks in an area. You just want to lift a certain rock.
Right.
You would think. So
yeah, maybe
there's some way they have to target the rock or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, or because I know like where was it? There was a certain chamber where they had unfinished. I think it was in the Great Pyramid, where was it in the Great Pyramid? I can't remember now. Where they had like a certain area where there was a certain frequency that they were trying to reach, and they had unfinished stone in there where they were chipping away at it until it reached the exact. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they were like trying to do some sort of like sound.
So I've heard that the pyramids are acoustically tuned to different stuff, but I've never actually gone deep into anyone who makes those claims to know the details of it.
Because the claim that I remember was like there's all this polished, finished rock everywhere, but then there's just one like pillar in the middle, or like some sort of like centerpiece that's like unfinished, and they were chipping away at it until they achieved, and that's how they achieved the exact like resonance frequency that they are looking for, is by chipping away at it until they got the exact amount of material they needed to achieve the tuning.
Well, sure. I mean, it just seems speculative described that way, because how do you know what they're trying to tune for? Did they leave hieroglyphs saying we were trying to tune to this?
Of course, yeah. No, there was nothing.
Or are you going in there and finding the resonant frequency of the room and then working backwards to show how possibly they made that? So maybe.
I can't remember. I don't think it was Giza. I think it was in one of the like the Serapeum or like some sort of like outside of there.
Yeah, I know Serapeum has some weird stuff like that.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was fascinating. And it's cool as heck.
That really is. I dig that. All right, next one.
Oh, yeah, so this was somebody that was a part of the telepathy tapes demonstrating her psi abilities in front of Jesse Michaels and Chris Ramsey at like a lunch that they were having together.
Oh.
And she's got one of those.
Was this not included in their video on it?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing this. But she's wearing one of those blackout blindfolds. It's like super dark. You can't see anything. And they were all asking her to like do this, do that. And she was like, yep, that, boop, boop. So yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, let's check this out.
How many fingers now?
6.
Yep.
And I can do it on this side and this side. Okay, what did you want to do?
What am I holding up?
That is a salt shaker.
How much is this bill for?
It says 45.26, I think. Something like that.
Hold on. What is this? A photo? Hold on. What is this photo?
a little blurry. It's like a monster or something. What is that? I cannot tell what that is. It's like a painting. I don't even know. It's a piece of art. I can't tell what that is.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Can I ask a weird question? What does looking at the sun look like through your vision? Like with the mask on?
It's like your brain makes it. It just looks like this. Like, you know how when the sun's setting, it kind of looks like that, but higher up. But yeah, you could totally look at the sun with this because
Does it look different? Do you see any patterns? Does it look different than if you look? I mean, obviously you can't look at it from anything.
I have to do it again. The things do look different. It's more high def. Like more high. Like I notice when I look at TV and stuff with it on, it's super clear because I don't know what.
You watch TV with a blindfold.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I was doing my daughter's hair today with the patches and everything because I was just trying to keep the windows open. So we call them windows, like the different areas you can look through.
How does your daughter fit into this? What's
My daughter, she's a telepath.
Yeah.
So she's a non-speak, but I put it on her one day and she was instantly able to do it.
Do you think that your ability is related to her in some way?
A lot of people think that. I'm not sure because I know everybody can do it. But a lot of people think I open up quickly because of her. So I don't know.
Because of proximity, or
yeah, and she does teach people, like she goes in people's dreams and wakes them up too, like with their telepathy and stuff. I'm not quite there, but
Do you think it's? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think it's possible to not face? Do you think it's possible to train yourself to not physically face the object and be able to still see?
yeah. So on this stage, are you gonna be holding,
I'll be up there with you.
or whoever's holding it is gonna be behind me?
Great.
Oh wow.
That's incredible.
All right, sorry guys, I forgot to put the video on screen, but yeah, if you guys just want to, I'll play it here in the background. If you can see the blindfold that she has on, it's real thick.
Holding up her fingers and salt shakers and the bill. She got the exact number or the exact bill.
So
Jesse Michaels holds up
this
the video.
seems to be the mother of a non-speaker that they're interviewing.
Yeah.
And this is the photo he was showing on his phone. I could see the confusions he had, especially.
She said monster, and then she said painting. She's like, it's blurry, but it looks like a painting or something.
Yeah.
Super fascinating, though.
That's really interesting.
So she's got that, and she's saying that when she wears it, she can like watch TV and like look at the sun and like do all these things, and it looks more high definition than if she was able to do it without the blindfold on. If she was to do the same things without the blindfold on, because it like blocks out some sort of like frequencies that you might be getting that like dilute the image or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But it sounded like they were going on stage to do something.
It's a different type of vision. Yeah, it sounds like they're going to some sort of
convention or something,
or conference. Maybe this was the UFO in the desert.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Contact in the desert or something. Wow. That's cool stuff.
Did you catch what she said? Her daughter goes into people's dreams and wakes them up to their telepathic abilities.
That's,
how do I sign up for that?
Is that theoretically the origin of hers? I think that's what Chris was asking. Then.
Yeah.
Huh. Very cool.
So cool.
All right. I've seen this one.
Have you? Okay. Because I remember last time we looked at like one of those amateur videos and we were like, dude, just zoom out and give us some like reference points. And like, so I just saw this one and I was like, I don't know if I believe it, but I think it gives you a better idea.
Yeah. It's
a little bit better video.
Let's play this.
Oh, that's a UFO for real, y'all. No, the alien's coming for real. Y'all look, they all dropping. That's a UFO for real. That's a UFO for real.
All right. So I kind of agree with the top comment here, which is that it looks like one of those super tall street lights or like a stadium light or something. Like it definitely seems like a pole. Though. Yeah. it is quite
But it does
tall.
look like one of those, like maybe like
Like
a
a sports
supermarket,
light or
even like
something.
if like in the middle of like a giant supermarket. But that's so tall. That's way taller than most sports lights.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It is very tall, but it's got such a straight line that looks like it's just the light getting less intense as it goes down the pole.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But this one doesn't super convince me.
Yeah, it does look like one of those ones where you'd see it like in like the middle of a parking lot, and it's got a big circular light array at the top, and they're all pointing in different directions.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be slightly edited too to make it look higher than it is as well.
Sure.
But interesting. I mean, I've seen that street light that look exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really high for just a street.
I mean, they
light,
were all
but-
excited about it, and people were coming out of their houses to come take a look at it and stuff. So it's, I mean, if they've lived there or if they've been there before, it seems like they're all excited about a street light.
Yeah,
Unless they're trying
or
to
people
play
are
or
coming out
depict it.
because people are sounding excited too.
True,
but
true.
I don't know.
Unless it's like
I
the
don't know.
atmospheric conditions made it look different than it usually does on
Sure.
this day, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
Or it could be the first day they powered it up too, so they're not
Could
used
be.
to seeing it there
could be. Yeah, could be.
if they're locals. All right, I got another one here. So we only got a few minutes here, so we'll just watch maybe the intro of this. But this is updates on the DART mission, NASA's asteroid deflection test.
All right.
In 2022, NASA made the first step towards a technology that might one day save all of us, asteroid deflection. They did it by letting a small spacecraft hit an asteroid. It's taken a few years to analyze all the data, but in a paper that just appeared, astrophysicists report that the outcomes were not quite as expected. Just what did they find, and what does it mean for asteroid defense? I've had a look. The NASA mission was called DART, short for Double Asteroid Redirection Test, and if you've never Googled it, you should.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mission. Liftoff. Falcon 9 with the DART mission. On the way for humanity's first ever planetary defense test mission.
DART launched in November 2021 and got on its way to the double asteroid system of Didymos and Dimorphos. Dimorphos is about 160 meters wide or so and orbits around its bigger companion roughly once every 12 hours. They're about 11 million kilometers away from Earth, too small to see as anything but a point of light with ordinary telescopes. These asteroids are not in the main asteroid belt, but circle around the Sun on their own paths. They're not immediate threats to Earth. However, they're projected to come rather close to Earth in October 2184, where close means to within plus minus 1,300 kilometers.
That's
That
pretty
means
close.
Direct hit has not been excluded, but we have 150 years to figure out what to do about it. It took the DART spacecraft almost 10 months to arrive at its destination. On September 26, 2022, it was then sacrificed to hit Dimorphos. This impact was seen by several telescopes on Earth and also in space, but they saw little more than evidence that the impact did happen. However, DART brought along a small Italian satellite called Lycia Cube. It separated from the DART craft a few days before impact and then flew past the impact site. It carried 2 cameras that recorded the debris trajectories. The new thing is now that we finally have the analysis of these recordings. Until now, mission planners expected most of the kick would come from the spacecraft's own momentum, plus a roughly uniform spray of fine dust and small pebbles. This expectation was partly based on NASA's Deep Impact mission from 2005 that had a probe hit a comet where exactly that happened. But the data now reveal this isn't what happened with the DART mission, not at all. The authors of the new paper say that on Dimorphos, the impact kicked out lots of boulders, some of them quite large, most of them rocketing off at high speed. And here's the kicker, quite literally. The boulder fragments carried more than 3 times the momentum of the spacecraft itself. Even more surprisingly, those boulders didn't escape evenly in all directions. They clustered into 2 main directions. The researchers believe that this is because the impact site itself had 2 bigger boulders that were basically annihilated. So what did this do to the orbit of the asteroid? The observations we have so far agree that the DART impact shortened the orbital period of Dimorphos around its companion by approximately 33 minutes. So it definitely did something. We'll know more after the Hera mission from the European Space Agency. It launched last year in October and should arrive at the asteroid system in late 2026.
Whoa. Yeah, so our asteroid defense is moving along.
Still got some work to do. But yeah, so it adjusted the trajectory or the momentum of the.
It sped up the orbit around it, the Didymus or Dimorphos. Which one was the big one?
I think Didymus was a small one. Dimorphos was the big one.
It sped up its orbit around Dimorphos by 33 minutes, something like that. It said. So, but I thought it was interesting that much more larger rocks, like it basically shot off a lot more matter than it was, which would take more energy than it was hit with, basically, which almost sounds like you're getting something for nothing or some sort of weird resonance, causing the thing to break and kick off more and more material.
Yeah, I mean, the impact site on the video, you know, which I saw when it happened too, when I was watching the video of it impacting, it landed right in the middle of this like rock outcropping, and where there's 2 giant boulders on either side, and then like a smaller one too on the top side of it. But yeah, I wonder if it landed right in the middle of it, which looked like its own little crater or something, and then it maybe just shot everything away, vaporizing whatever was in the center.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it did say that it had a more velocity than the impact itself, than the craft, the DART craft itself. So there was some sort of like acceleration effect.
Well, yeah, it's almost like a weird multiplying effect where you hit it with a certain amount of energy and it kicks off material that should take even more energy than it was hit with
to eject it at a higher speed too.
And at higher speeds, right. Which is very interesting and may give hope towards scaling up this sort of project.
Yeah, hitting it with some larger object and stuff.
Right.
And they got the European Space Agency's sending another rocket or another
they're going to do another flyby to check out
what's happened since.
Right.
Because the satellite it sent is not orbiting it. I think it's just
right.
Flew
It
by
was just a flyby
data
behind DART to see what happened.
To get like the immediate data from it and watch the actual ejecta.
Super interesting.
So we're moving along.
Yeah.
Randall would be happy.
Graham, for sure. And Randall. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take our first break here, and then we'll come back and we'll hop into some alien interview and talk more about the history of Earth according to the alien named
Roswell
Airl.
alien. All right, y'all. See you in a bit.
Yo. Good morning. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you? It's a beautiful day. Yeah. Yo. Last night I fell in love again. Something must have happened in between now and then. Since the last time we spent life laughing over red wine, staring at the blue skies, wonder when we'll expire. Will there be enough time to make amends with our past lives? Timeless in her eyes, so I stare till I'm blinded in her iris. Atlantis creeps to the surface, still water runs deep as the earth twists. But I keep strolling like a rolling stone. Past was always gone, he was searching for a new home. Roaming, landed in the stolen land back in 95. Never looked back till I realized who I really am. Divided by the oceans, but my love keeps growing. Idolize the moment cause the clock keeps going. Knowing no one will understand your journey is a man, cause God made a plan for you, nobody else's truth. Universe seeking wisdom through the silence of the lamb. Sacrifice my own being for a scam. Working for the man, trade a stage for a cube. My mic for a keyboard and a desk for the booth. Never will again, cause it all makes sense now. Said that one day that it will, or it might. I guess that you could say last night I fell in love again. Yeah. And something must have happened, I imagine. Dragons when I breathe, spit fire till you freeze. Spit bars till I'm free from freedom in a free form. Live till I'm reborn, searching so I read more pages. Burn as I write, scriptures in the light. Waiting for the right moment to strike. Before midnight passes, pay my homage to the tribe. On a quest to survive right before the love dies. I guess last night you could say I fell in love again. Somehow, story never seems to end. But it all makes sense now. They said that one day that it would. I just never really understood.
Welcome back.
Was that on? Was that on the album?
That's on the M.Born Experience. That's one of his solo mixtapes.
Okay.
By M.Born. Check the links for the full album.
Yeah, 'cause I remember that being on the other album that he did. You guys did the recording for that one though too, right?
Yeah, we did. So we had our album together, the Soul Food album.
Soul Food, yeah.
And then he did one called Reborn. And then he did one called The M.Born Experience. So this was the M.Born Experience.
I don't know if I heard all that album.
Yeah, maybe not. It's a good one though.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, you asked me when we were on break, but there was one thing that came out this week that I just watched today. Actually, I don't know if it came out this week. I just found it anyway. There's this guy that's doing like a interview series for the New York Times, and they publish them on YouTube. And he did an interview with Diana Pasulka.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty interesting, and it kind of, I don't know. It seemed like he was trying to undermine her the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like trying to set it up so that to make it seem that she was making assertions or leaps in logic that the evidence didn't support. And he was trying to fall back on the Wall Street Journal narrative from their article they published recently, which is basically that the whole thing's a hoax.
Right. So he's trying to like make her sound like she's just like making it all up, or like she's reaching for to like put things together and
like
stuff.
Reaching.
Did she defend herself pretty well?
She did, actually. There was one point where he was trying to draw this distinction between what we know and like what the government portrays it as. And he was trying to make this point that all we really know is that there's something weird going on, and that's what the government says. Anything more than that is kind of coming from these non-credible sources. And then she was like, well, yeah, but all these whistleblowers, like, these are people who worked in government. Like, these are government sources.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I guess I didn't see it that way.
So he's just trying to like...
But he's
trying to like steel man the whole...
And it was weird because he was sort of double speaky about it all, too.
So it sounds like...
Like, he tried to make it sound like he's interested in the topic, but then he tried to make it sound like he thinks that it's all basically a scam put on by the government because it's convenient for them to distract people with UFOs and away from their secret technology, basically.
I see. So he's trying to say the whole thing is governments, their propaganda, like...
Basically, that they want people to believe in UFOs, which is weird because there's some actions the government takes that makes you think they want people to believe in UFOs, but then there's other actions where they're definitely trying to make people not believe in UFOs.
Yeah.
And
especially this stuff.
Diana points that out, and she's like, it's confusing, and rightfully so. And then she made this point that I don't think the way forward is through government disclosure.
Mm.
And he didn't like that. I don't know. He basically complained about that
because he wants the government to be the one to disclose it. Is the idea?
Well,
if there's anything, he thinks the government's going to be the ones that tell us.
I think he more took it as like, oh, okay, so you're willing to go off into conspiracy theory territory.
Okay.
Because you're not going to take information from the official channels. Her point is that like the government has been at odds with itself as far as its message, and it's very confusing. And based off of the entire history of the phenomenon, the history of the government's involvement in the phenomenon, it's just not rational to expect the truth from government on this.
Especially because they've been on both sides of the story. They've been leaking stuff and also not like trying to like discredit people, and then like doing things like what's his name? Richard.
Yeah, I know what you're going for. I can't grab on his name either.
Yeah, it's Richard something, and he was like a disinformation guy who got inside the UFO group and basically like drove this one guy completely mad.
Yeah,
and ended up killing himself because of it. Like that just all seems like it's creating chaos, and maybe that's what they want. It's creating chaos around the entire story, but then they can just be like, oh well, this is true, that's not true, this is true, and they could just be like, okay, we'll tell you what we think it is, and outside of that, it's all conspiracy.
Right.
Like, it's so convenient. It's just too convenient.
And he sort of asked in this like patronizing way, well, if you're not going to accept it from government, where are you going to get this information from? And she's like, well, there's plenty of people who see stuff. There's plenty of people who experience stuff. Like, we have to do the work ourselves and not rely on government to just give everything out.
Yeah. Which they would likely, maybe their hand will be forced at some point, but I don't know that they're just going to willingly give everything away.
Yeah. If there's enough discovery done in the civilian realm, totally outside of government, and like real information starts coming, at some point that could force their hand.
Right.
But
outside of that, you might get little bits and pieces, or you might get some like you know, there might be some technology that gets out because of some private company that wants to make, you know, profit off of it. So you might get some sort of like this or that coming out.
Yeah, and I'm most suspicious of like a myopic narrative coming out from the government, something that's more crafted and scripted that seems to paint the picture that we're in some sort of national security danger from these things.
Yeah, which I wouldn't believe, and I, at least not offhand, without any like, you know, something personal that I can like see that's going to make me believe that. Because if we are coming to the realization that this thing is real, and if it comes out from the government that these like all of this stuff is real in some form, and then they just are saying, well, these things are the things we're telling you now are real, but all this other stuff, you know, as far back as Roswell, you know, we're not going to speculate on that. But if they've been around for that long and they have, and there's been nothing,
right?
Nothing's happened to us as a society, you know, due to these aliens or whatever it may be.
They haven't violently conquered the planet,
right?
So, which they could have, presumably,
unless they come up with some sort of story to like, of it being like some like long game. They're here and they're not, you know, violent, but they're slowly taking over our, you know, governments, and they're slowly taking over our elites, and they're slowly taking over these power structures that exist on the planet, and eventually it'll just be them and not us anymore running everything.
Right.
That's something that I can see them twisting. But,
sure.
You know, who knows if it's true or not, right?
Hard to say.
Our lizard overlords and their shape-shifting or non-shape-shifting, but their ability to control our consciousness.
Right.
We would never know.
All right. So, yeah. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up, and I'll leave a link for you guys to check out the video.
I want to check that out, too.
It's a good one.
While Dean gets the book ready so we can start on the alien interview, I'm going to show you this. This is the beer we're drinking tonight. Hella does exist. West Coast IPA.
And it's a play on like West Coast culture. They've got like a whole...
We say hella out here on the West Coast.
Yeah. Did you read the thing?
I didn't read it. I'll read it now though. Which one? The one on the back? We linked up with our Central Coast partners in crime at their does not exist to brew. Our Central Coast partners in crime at their does not exist.
Does not exist.
At their does not exist to brew a West Coast IPA that slaps, stuffed with a hella dank mix of domestic and New Zealand hops. It's bright, punchy, and ready to blast your taste buds into next week. Believe the hype or don't. More for us. 6.2% alcohol. Altamont Beer Works in Livermore, California.
Hella brew. Hella.
Brewed and canned.
Hella IPA.
That's hella tight.
Hella does exist. That's a funny one.
That's awesome.
All right, cool. So, where did we leave off? We sort of left off. They were talking about sort of the beginnings of like seeding religions, seeding like the Vedas,
right?
And
and how the Vedas and the new kind of the new age religions are the domain's influence over the culture, right? Or are the
Vedas
religions
are more of the domain, but then a lot of the monotheistic stuff. I think this is where we get into that some more. But they talk about like Judaism and the Old Testament. So we're now at 6,750 BCE.
Okay.
Other pyramid civilizations were set up by the old empire on Earth. Those were established in Babylon, Egypt, China, and Mesoamerica. The Mesopotamian area provided service facilities, communication stations, spaceports, stone quarry operations for those false civilizations. Ptah was the name given to the first in a succession of administrators from the old empire who represented themselves to the Earth population as divine rulers. Yeah, Ptah. Ptah's importance may be understood when one learns that the word Egypt is a Greek corruption of the phrase Hekaptah, or House of the Spirit of Ptah. Ptah was nicknamed the Developer. He was a construction engineer. His high priest was given the title Great Leader of Craftsmen. Ptah was also the god of reincarnation in Egypt. He originated the opening of the mouth ceremony, which was performed by priests at funerals to release souls from their corpses. Of course, when the souls were released, they were captured, given amnesia, and returned to Earth again. The so-called divine rulers who followed Ptah on Earth were called, it just says NTR,
Neutered.
meaning guardians or watchers by the Egyptians. Their symbol was the serpent or dragon, which represented the secret priesthood of the old empire called the Brothers of the Serpent.
I was just about to say that.
Old empire engineers used cutting tools of highly concentrated light waves to quickly carve and excavate stone blocks. So this is the proposed solution for... They also use force fields and spacecraft to lift and transport blocks of stone weighing 100 or thousands of tons each. The placement on the ground of some of these structures will be found to have geodetic or astronomical significance relative to various stars in this galactic region. The buildings are crude and impractical compared to building standards on most planets. As an engineer of the domain, I can attest that makeshift structures like these would never pass inspection on a planet in the domain. Stone blocks, such as those used in the pyramid civilizations, can still be seen partially excavated in stone quarries in the Middle East and elsewhere.
So, yeah, it wasn't acoustics. It was aliens.
Yeah, they're saying it was light. They were basically using lasers to cut it.
Yeah, and then they were using the craft themselves to move them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Most of the structures were hastily built props, much like the false facades of a Western town on the set of a motion picture. They appear to be real and to have some use or value. However, they have no value. They have no useful purpose. The pyramids and all the other stone monuments erected by the old empire could be called mystery monuments. For what reason would anyone waste so much resources to construct so many useless buildings to create a mysterious illusion? The fact of the matter is that one of the divine rulers were Isbis, or is that each one of the divine rulers were Isbis who served as operatives of the old empire. They were certainly not divine, although they were Isbis.
Yeah, so these are like those, like we had talked about before, the
guards, like the demigods, like the gods of Egypt, the
ones who had
during the times where they say that they were actually ruled by the gods who came down to Earth, right?
So they had some sort of divine connection to the gods, and they had some sort of like knowledge outside of that other Isbis on Earth didn't have, because we were too amnesiac. Amnesiatic. Amnesed. We were all too far asleep. We were all too asleep, and they had been awakened, but still were prisoners.
Well, no, this is saying that these specifically were old empire operatives who would come down and rule, and they would build these things with technology that they had.
But didn't it say that they would also like give them amnesia and then put them back into the population?
No, it's saying they brought out this practice called like the something of souls, where they would like breathe out. Oh yeah, the opening of the mouth ceremony. which was performed by priests at funerals to release souls from their corpses. And then it said, of course, when they were released, they were captured and
brought back and put back in.
Right.
Brought back into the fold. Okay, so it was all for show then.
Right. As part of their...
To give them the illusion that they were gods.
Right.
I see.
So, I mean, this all comes down to, like, how do you define
they basically
God, right?
were, I mean,
like,
as far as anybody else could tell.
Like, to me, there's a distinction between this concept of, like, a creator, a prime mover, this capital G God, and as the polytheistic religions and whatnot would describe as gods, small g gods, of which is more like a race of super advanced, possibly spiritual beings, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think one precludes the other. I just think depending on the religion you're a part of, there's different names for these things, right?
Yeah, like the Nephilim and the...
Right, or like angels and demons once you get into monotheism, right? Because you're not going to call anything God but God, right? So
you start calling them different names.
Right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that these creatures and beings that would have just been called gods by other cultures didn't exist to them too.
Right. Okay.
Anyway. 6,248 BCE. The beginning of the active warfare between the Domain Space Command and the surviving remnants of the old Empire space fleet in this solar system that lasted nearly 7,500 years. It began when an installation was established in the Himalaya Mountains by a battalion of the Expeditionary Force. The installation was not fortified as the Domain was not aware that the old Empire maintained Earth as a prison planet. The Domain installation was attacked and destroyed by space forces of the old Empire who continued to operate in the solar system of Earth. Isbies of the Domain battalion were captured, taken to Mars, given amnesia, sent back to Earth to inhabit human biological bodies. They are still on Earth.
So it wasn't much of a war.
Well, they're saying that's the beginning of the war.
Yeah, it's the beginning. That's like the first fight
of active warfare in our solar system between these two.
So the Domain came in not knowing that the old Empire was still active in the area,
and they set up a base
that was not fortified, and then they got attacked and killed or whatever.
All those people are now part of the prison planet cycle.
So we need to break them free, and then they can break us free, and then they're gonna be
Once you start getting into like, it makes me think of things like the abduction phenomena, like reading John Mack's book like I'm doing right now. And a lot of people that are going through these abduction phenomena seem to have memories of being aliens. So I wonder if the people who are specific targets for the abductions are the ones that are suspected
being part of the expeditionary force.
Right, and they're trying to hasten along their recovery and remembering of who they are.
Interesting. Yeah, so they're abducting who they think could be.
And maybe that's what all the biological and weird cloning tests are too, is like that's ways to try to speed along the return of the memory.
Hurry it up.
All right, 5,965 BCE. Investigations into the disappearance of the Domain forces in the solar system led to the discovery of old Empire bases on Mars and elsewhere. The Domain took over the planet Venus as a defensive position against the space forces of the old Empire. The Domain Expeditionary Force also monitors life forms on Venus, which has a very dense, hot, and heavy atmosphere of sulfuric acid clouds. There are few life forms on Earth that can endure in an atmospheric environment like Venus. The Domain also established secret installations or space stations in Earth's solar system. This solar system has a planet that is broken up, the asteroid belt. It provides a very useful low-gravity platform for takeoff and landing of spacecraft. It is used as a galactic jump between the Milky Way and adjoining galaxies. There aren't any planets at this end of the galaxy that can serve as good galactic entering spot for the incoming transport and other ships. But this broken up planet makes a very ideal space station as a result of our war against the old empire. This area of the solar system is now a valuable possession of the domain.
This is the asteroid belt. So they're using the low gravity of the old planet that was there and using it as a jump off point to get other places within the Milky Way.
Right. So that seems to be the main reason they care about our solar system, is because the asteroid belt has value for transportation purposes.
Yeah, it serves as a good,
and so they want to maintain
point.
it, and which seems to be leading to their war with the old empire, at least in our solar system.
Yeah, and maybe the only interest that they have in Earth and us as ISBs in this area are that they have soldiers trapped here or beings trapped here. And maybe they're like, hey, like, we should probably go get them at some point.
Right.
And maybe in the process, like, hey, let's wake up these other ISBs that have been imprisoned here for millennia.
Right, right.
Or trillennia. However.
Yeah.
However you would.
How do you... Millennium?
I don't even know if it goes any higher than that.
It's got to go higher. My billennium? Would that be...
Multiple?
Yeah, I don't know how it works. Anyway, let's take our next break. We're at an hour.
All right.
And then we'll come back with more.
Cool. See you all in a bit.
All right.
I've been caught in a storm before. You turned and said to me I was out past the shore, sailing towards a dream, and I promised myself that I never sail one step off my coast, coast, coast. Among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say. Say I would take you on, I take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, I take you on. Once I was lost in the woods, you slowly start to say, rain beat down where I stood, as I tried to find my way, and I swore to myself that I never said one step off my path, path, path. Among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say. Say I would take you on, I take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, I take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, take you on. I have you know I was on the shore and standing at the wooden exit door, 'cause it was you that I was waiting for. Yeah, that was me standing on the shore and knocking at the wooden exit door, 'cause it was you that I was waiting for. would take you on. I 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 take you on.
Welcome back. That was Stevie Nader, and the song's called Take You On.
Take you on, take you on.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, shall we
get back into it?
3,450 to 3,100 BCE.
Okay.
So we've skipped forward a couple thousand years.
Okay.
The intervention into the affairs of Earth by the Old Empire operatives or divine gods was disrupted at this time by the domain forces. They were forced to replace themselves with human rulers. The first dynasty of human pharaohs who united Upper and Lower Egypt began with the rule of a pharaoh who coincidentally was named Men. He established the capital city called Mennefer, the beauty of men, in Egypt. And this started the first succession of 10 human pharaohs in a period of 350 years of chaos that followed in the administrative ranks of the Old Empire.
So the beginning of the dynastic Egyptians then?
The beginning of the human pharaohs.
So there was the godly pharaohs that were the gods on Earth.
Yeah, so this would be like more like what Egyptologists considered the actual history versus the mythical part of the King's List, which is part of the Zep-Tepi or whatever.
Okay. I wonder if Men has anything to do with Menkari.
3,200 BCE. As I mentioned earlier, Earth was under attack between the domain and the Old Empire forces during this period. Of course, this does not make any sense to archaeologists or historians on Earth because the Egyptian period is a space opera era period. Since Earth historians have amnesia, they assume that this was only a religious period. Further, because the technology and civilizations installed on Earth during this period were prepackaged, they did not evolve on Earth. Of course, there is no evidence anywhere on Earth of an evolutionary transition which resulted in sophisticated mathematics, language, writing, religion, architecture, cultural traditions in Egypt, or in any of the pyramid civilizations. These cultures, complete with all of the details of racial body types, hairstyles, facial makeup, rituals, moral codes, and so forth, just appeared as a complete integrated package.
So it's like each of the different styles of human were like just like updated versions of the original.
Well, if you recall earlier, it talked about as part of the prison planet, we were given these like we were basically assigned these cultures that were meant to not reflect the cultures
of the Old Empire, yeah.
Right. So
that we didn't have any sort of memories.
They didn't trigger
through
memory events, right?
Yeah,
and so, they're saying that these different pyramid cultures were like prepackaged
in order to be completely different and have that same kind of feel to them, so they weren't
right. But it's also saying, because this is one of those things that like Graham Hancock talks about, which is like, where is the thousands of years of people building crappy pyramids that lead up to the Great Pyramids? Right. How come the best pyramids in Egypt are the first ones?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, which actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
The physical evidence suggests that all evidence of the intervention of the domain or the Old Empire forces or any other extraterrestrial activity has carefully cleaned up so as not to create suspicion. The old Empire force does not want the Isbies of Earth to suspect that they have been captured, transplanted to Earth, and brainwashed. So, Earth historians continue to assume that Egyptian priests were not supposed to have ray guns or other technology of the old empire. And they suppose that there was nothing going on Earth except some priests walking around saying Amen, which the Christians still say.
Right. Just walking around saying Amen.
All right. So now 3172 BCE. Layout of the astronomical grid that joins the key mining sites and astronomical buildings of the gods in the Andes Mountains, such as Tiahuanaco, Cuzco, Quito, and the cities of Ollantaytambo and Machu Picchu and Pachacamac, for the mining of rare metals included tin for the use in making bronze. Metals were the property of the gods, of course. A great variety of entrepreneurial mining was done on Earth at that time due to the war between the old Empire force and the domain. These miners did carve a few sculptures of themselves. They are seen wearing mining helmets. The Ponce Stella sculpture in the sunken courtyard of the Kalasaya temple is a crude rendering of a stone worker using an electronic light wave emitting stone cutter and carving tool held in a holster.
Oh, we got to look that up.
Yeah, let me see. So, Ponce Stella. Kalasaya.
Ponce Stella Kalasaya. Oh, yeah, okay. So those are supposedly electrical tools being held in their hand there.
Yeah, so it's saying that, yeah, these are like electrical tools. And what else is it saying?
This is in Tiwanaku, Bolivia.
Saying they have a miner's helmet on.
Yeah, okay.
And electronic light wave emitting stone cutter and carving tool held in a holster.
So yeah, whatever that like T looking thing could be being held in a holster in the left hand there.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it does look like he has a helmet on.
It does, yeah. Okay. So they're saying these are depictions that were of the miners themselves, these entrepreneurial miners that were there to serve the old empire / the domain, doing their mining for the materials they needed to continue the war.
So this would probably fall into the oldest stonework, the megalithic stonework there in the Andes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's the different layers of the complexity of the stonework, and the oldest stuff is the most megalithic and the most mysterious.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is the most shocking thing about it, right? Is that the oldest stuff is the best stuff.
Yeah.
And the newer stuff is like the rip-off stuff.
The old empire has also maintained mining operations on planets throughout the galaxy for a very long time. The mineral resources of Earth are now a property of the domain. 2450 BCE. The Great Pyramid and complex of pyramids near Cairo were completed. An inscription created by the old empire administrators can be seen in the so-called pyramid texts. The texts say that the pyramid was built under the direction of Thoth, son of Ptah. Of course, there was never a king buried in the chamber, since the pyramids were never intended to be used as a burial chamber. The Great Pyramid was located precisely at the exact center of all the land masses of Earth. as viewed from space. Obviously, such precise measurements require aerial perspective and a view of the land masses of Earth from space. Purely mathematical calculations of the geodetic center of the continents of Earth could not be made otherwise.
Yeah, unless you're super advanced in your expeditions and you're able to,
I guess,
map out everything.
How do you do that without flight, though?
You would need to, yeah.
Shafts were constructed inside the pyramid to align with the configuration of stars in the constellation of Orion, Canis Majora, and specifically Sirius. The shafts are also aligned to the Big Dipper, where the home planet of the old empire existed. Also, Inatak, Alpha Draconis, and Beta Ursa Minor. These stars are each one of the key systems of the old empire from which Isbis were brought to Earth and dumped as unwanted merchandise. The configuration of all the pyramids of Giza Plateau was intended to create a mirror image on Earth of the solar system and certain constellations within the old empire. 2181 BCE. Min became the god of fertility in Egypt. The Isbi, also known as Pan, was also a Greek god. Min, or Pan, was an Isbi who somehow managed to escape from the old empire amnesia system. 2160 to 2040 BCE.
This is about roughly 4,000 years ago.
Yeah, so we have the god of fertility who escaped the amnesia system. Interesting.
The god of fertility. Interesting. Yeah, no, that's okay. What does it say?
Well, no, that
what
was what we just read.
Okay.
One of the results of the intensifying battle between the domain forces and the old empire forces was that the control of the divine rulers was broken at this time. They finally left Egypt and returned to the heavens, so to speak, in defeat. Human beings took over the ruling rule as pharaohs. The first human pharaoh moved the capital city of Egypt from Memphis to Heracleopolis. Heracleopolis.
Tongue twister.
1500 BCE. This is the date for the destruction of Atlantis given by the Egyptian high priests, Xenophis of Heliopolis and Sonchus of Sais, to the Greek sage Solon.
Heliopolis.
That's Heliopolis, yes. The priests of Anu recorded that the Mediterranean area was invaded by the Atlantean people about this time. Of course, these people were not from the ancient continent of Atlanta in the Atlantic Ocean, which existed more than 70,000 years earlier. These were refugees from the Minoan civilization on Crete, escaping from a volcanic eruption and tidal waves of Mount Thera that destroyed their civilization.
But they were still kind of known as the Atlantis people.
Maybe they were called them because of the myth of the Atlanteans.
Maybe they took on the identity of them.
These were refugees from the Minoan civilization. Oh, yeah.
From Crete. Huh?
From Crete, yeah. Plato's references to Atlantis were borrowed from the writings of the Greek philosopher Solon, who was given the information by the Egyptian priest who called Atlantis Kepchu, which also happens to be the Egyptian name for the people of Crete. Some of the survivors of the Minoan volcanic disaster asked Egypt for help, since they were the only other civilization with high culture in the Mediterranean area at the time.
Okay.
1351 BCE to 1337 BCE. The Domain Expeditionary Force actively waged a war of religious conquest against the Egyptian mystery cult called the Priests of Amun, also known as the Old Empire Brothers of the Serpent. During this time, the pharaoh Akhenaten abolished the priesthood of Amun and moved the capital of Egypt from Thebes to a new central location at Amarna, at the exact geodetic center of Egypt. However, this plot to overthrow the old empire religious control was quickly spoiled. Interesting. So this is saying Akhenaten, who was, I believe, the pharaoh who tried to switch to like a monotheistic religion.
Yeah.
And move the capital.
Right.
So this is saying that was part of overthrowing the old empire rule.
But it didn't hold.
It didn't
obviously.
Hold, right.
Yeah.
1193 BCE. In the Near East in Achaia, the Greeks and Trojans fought for supremacy, which ended in the destruction of Troy as the finale of the Trojan War. During the same time, war was being fought out into space of the solar system between two forces for control of the space stations surrounding Earth. That period of 300 years was a violent resistance to the domain forces by the remnants of the old empire forces. It did not last long, however, as it is futile to resist the domain. So, yeah, they're saying that basically there's this 300-year period of time where the war was super intense. And that could be what gives a lot of the... I mean, you can imagine, like, if there's some crazy space war going on, like, you might catch visions of weird things in the sky from time to time, and they might turn into myths of the gods fighting and Zeus throwing his thunderbolt. And
all the polytheistic religions were probably like at an all-time high, right? So you got like, all these different gods. You got Zeus, and you got, all the ocean gods, and maybe something's crashing down, or this is happening, or maybe you've got refugees of the war coming down to Earth and doing whatever they got to do to survive, and they come into a society that may be polytheistic and acting as if they're one of their gods, and it could be... And this is far back enough where, like, we didn't even know that Troy was a real thing. Like, if that was happening at the same time as the Trojan War, we thought that was myth until we found the remnants of Troy.
Right.
Like, this is far enough back where the evidence of these things can be suppressed.
Well, and what evidence would there be of a war in space? I mean, the evidence would
unless they came down to Earth at some point,
be
right?
in space. But
and maybe there was some, because that war was also pretty, the Trojan War and the other things going on Earth were also very violent at the time. And maybe there's some sort of as above, so below type of thing going on there where, our quote unquote rulers are having a war above us. And so therefore we are having a war on land in whatever form that may shape out to be.
Right.
It's interesting.
All right. 850 BCE.
Close.
Homer, the blind Greek poet, wrote the stories of the gods and borrowed and modified from earlier sources in Vedic texts, Sumerian texts, Babylonian and Egyptian mythology. His poems, as well as many other myths of the ancient world, are very accurate descriptions of the exploits of the Isbis on Earth, who were able to avoid the old empire amnesia operation and operate without biological bodies. So Homer told some stories of some actual Isbis doing some weird shit, basically.
That's pretty cool.
May be the basis for some of the Greek gods.
That's pretty cool.
700 BCE. The Vedic hymns were first translated in the Greek language. This was the beginning of a cultural revolution in Western civilization that transformed crude and brutal tribal cultures into democratic republics based on more reasonable conduct. 738 to 559 BCE. I say 700, 638. Solon, a wise man from Greece, reported the existence of Atlantis. This was the information he received from the old empire high priest Xenophus of Heliopolis and Sunchis of Sais. with whom he studied in Egypt. 630 BCE. Zoroaster created religious practices in Persia around an Isbi called Ahura Mazda. This was yet another of the growing number of monotheistic gods put in place by operatives of the domain to displace a panoply of old empire gods. So
they're trying to replace the polytheistic.
They're trying to replace the polytheism with a monotheism. Yeah. And so they basically inspired Zoroaster. Okay. 604 BCE, Laozi, a philosopher who wrote a small book called The Way, was an Isbi of great wisdom who overcame the effects of the old empire amnesia and hypnosis machinery and escaped from Earth. His understanding of the nature of an Isbi must have been very good to accomplish this. According to the common legend, his last lifetime was as a human was lived in a small village in China. He contemplated the essence of his own life. Like Gautama Siddhartha, he confronted his own thoughts and past lives. In so doing, he recovered some of his own memory, ability, and immortality. As an old man, he decided to leave the village and go to the forest to depart the body. The village gatekeeper stopped him and begged him to write down his personal philosophy before leaving. Here is a small piece of advice he gave about the way he rediscovered his own spirit. He who looks will not see it. He who listens will not hear it. He who gropes will not grasp it. The formless non-entity, the motionless source of motion, the infinite essence of the spirit is the source of life. Spirit is self. Walls form and support a room, yet the space between them is the most important. A pot is formed of clay, yet the space formed therein is most useful. Action is caused by the force of nothing on something, just as nothing of spirit is the source of all form. One suffers great afflictions because one has a body. Without a body, what afflictions could one suffer? When one cares more for the body than for his own spirit, one becomes the body and loses the way of the spirit. The self, the spirit, creates illusion. The delusion of man is that reality is not an illusion. One who creates illusions and makes them more real than reality follows the path of the spirit and finds the way of heaven.
Wow.
That's a cool.
He wrote a book.
Yeah, that's Laozi. Laozi. Yeah.
Laozi. I want to read that.
From the book called The
Way,
Way,
yeah.
which I think is a foundational text in Buddhism.
Sounds like a foundational text in The Mandalorian too.
This is the way. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
The walls form and support the room, yet the space between them is most important. And the clay forms the pot, but it's what's in between that matters.
It's the most useful, yeah.
Right. So it's saying like this fleshy stuff makes our body, but it's what's in it that matters, right?
Yeah, it's the things that separate us that are the most important. The space between is the most important, not the flesh and the physical nature of things.
Yeah, I think
the soul.
I think it's trying to
the container
liken the room and the container to the stuff within them to like a human body and the thing within it, right?
Yeah. But also you can extract that to, like the connection between us all is the important part and not the, physical nature of the universe, right?
Right. I like this last part too. one who creates illusions and makes them more real than reality follows the path of the spirit and finds the way of heaven. So if you can make illusions and make them real, you're on the path of the spirit. So creation, it sounds like creativity, building, and it sounds like just the act of creation is the way of the spirit.
Yeah.
To me.
Okay, let's keep going.
593 BCE. The Genesis story written by the Jewish people describe angels or sons of God mating with women of earth and bore them children. These were probably the renegades from the old empire. They may also have been space pirates or merchants from a system outside the galaxy who came to steal mineral resources or smuggle drugs. The domain has observed that there are many visitors to Earth from neighboring planets and galaxies, but they rarely stop and live here. What kind of being would live on a prison planet if they were not forced to do so? The same book also reports the story of a human named Ezekiel who witnessed a spacecraft or aircraft landing near Chabar River in Chaldea. His description of the craft uses very archaic language technically, but is nevertheless quite an accurate description of an old empire saucer or scout craft. It is similar to the sighting of Vimanas by the people of the foothills of the Himalayas. Their Genesis story also mentions that Yahweh designated biological bodies to live for 120 years on Earth. Biological bodies on most Sun-type 12 Class 7 planets are usually engineered to last for an average of about 150 years. Human bodies on Earth last only about one half as long. We suspect this is because the prison administrators have altered the biological material of human bodies on Earth to die more frequently so that the Isbies who inhabit them will recycle through the amnesia mechanism more frequently.
So our bodies themselves are able to live to about, or maintain until about 150, but
they say that bodies like ours on other systems that are like ours
are capable of living until 150.
Right.
But the structure and the way that they built us or facilitated our lives on this planet is to live until be half that. So
maybe that's where they
years.
like modified our telomeres or whatever to only give it so many.
Start to decay after a certain amount of time.
A certain amount of cellular reproductions.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are people who have elongated that.
Mm-hmm. It should be noted that most of the Old Testament was written during the captivity of the Jews who were enslaved in Babylon, which was very heavily controlled by priests of the Old Empire. The book introduces a false sense of time and a false concept of the origin of the creation. The serpent is the symbol of the Old Empire. It appears in the beginning of their creation story, or as the Greeks say, Genesis, and causes the spiritual destruction of the first human beings who are metaphorically represented by Adam and Eve. The Old Testament, clearly influenced by the Old Empire forces, gives a detailed description of the Isbies being induced into biological bodies on Earth. This book also describes many of the Old Empire brainwashing activities, including the installation of false memories, lies, superstitions, commands to forget, and all manner of tricks and traps designed to keep Isbies on Earth. Most importantly, it destroys the awareness that humans are immortal spiritual beings.
Dang.
So the Old Testament is sus compared to the...
How much we got left in this chapter?
A
few pages?
Yeah, we got a little ways because we're not even into AD yet.
Oh, wow.
But we might be able to get through it all. I think we could.
Okay. Well, do you want to take our last break here and then we'll come back and start plugging away?
All right, let's do it.
All right. We'll see y'all in a minute.
like him anyways, and you know that you have to be young and smooth nowadays. Oh yeah, that's the way. You can tell he is the man. Just look how elegantly he stands in that suit and tie. Look at the change in his eye. I wanna shake that hand. Well, I can't tell because it all sounds the same to me. Well, you call me ignorant, saying dark's the only reason I see. Well, you know that 82 of us, we feel the same. Oh yeah, 82 of us say it's time for a change. Well, my priest even says he is the man. Well, churches stay separate, but yet we don't understand. 'Cause that suit and tie, oh, it's got me mesmerized. He's gonna change this land. He's gonna change me. He's gonna change me.
Welcome back.
All right.
For the final segment.
Hope y'all enjoyed some TJ.
Yeah.
It's always so groovy.
Totally. All right, let's hop into this.
Let's
This is 580 BCE now.
Okay.
The Oracle at Delphi was one temple in a network of many oracle temples. Each temple was a communication center. The old empire priests designated a local god for each temple. Each of the temples in this network were located at precisely 5 degrees of latitude intervals from the capital city of Thebes throughout the Mediterranean area as far north as the Baltic Sea. The shrines served, among other things, as a grid housing electronic beacons, later called omphalos stones.
Omphalos.
Yeah. The grid arrangement of oracle sites can only be seen from miles above the earth. The original network of electronic communications beacons were disabled when the priesthood was dispersed and were replaced by carved stones. The symbol of the old empire priesthood is a python, dragon, or serpent. It was called the Earth Dragon at Delphi, which is always represented in sculpture and vase paintings as a serpent. In Greek mythology, the guardian of the omphalos stone in the temple, or at the temple of Delphi, was an oracle whose name was Python, the serpent. She was an Isbe who was conquered by a god named Apollo. He buried her under the omphalos stone. This is a case of one god setting up his temple on the grave of another. This is a very accurate euphemism for the domain force that detected and disabled the old empire temple network on Earth. It was one of the fatal blows to the old empire force in the solar system of Earth.
Yeah, but they still haven't fully disassembled all of it, right? As far as what they were saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, them coming in and building on top of what the old empire had done previously. Okay.
559 BCE. The commanding officer of the Domain Battalion, who was lost in 5965 BCE, was detected and located by a search party sent to Earth from the Domain Expeditionary Force. He was incarnated as Cyrus II of Persia. During this time, a unique system of organization was used by Cyrus II and the members of that battalion who followed him from India through his progression of human lives on Earth. In part, it enabled them to build the largest empire in the history of the Earth to that date. The domain search party who located him traveled around the earth searching for the lost battalion for several thousand years. The party consisted of 900 officers of the domain divided into teams of 300 each. One team searched the land, another team searched the oceans, and a third team searched the space surrounding Earth. There are many reports made in various human civilizations concerning their activities, which humans did not understand, of course.
I wonder why they were searching the oceans. Wonder if they were incarnating into mammals in general.
Yeah, so I think that's where it's about to go.
Mm.
The domain search party devised a wide variety of electronic detection devices needed to track the electronic signature or wavelength of each of the missing members of the battalion. Some were used in space, others on land, and special devices invented to detect ISBs underwater. One of these electronic detection devices is referred to as a tree of life. The device is literally a tool designed to detect the presence of life, which is an ISB. This was a large electronic screen generator designed to permeate wide areas. To the ancient humans on Earth, it resembled a sort of tree, since it consists of an interwoven lattice of electronic field generators and receivers. The electronic field detects the presence of ISBs, whether the ISB is occupying a body or if they are outside a body.
Interesting.
A portable version of this detection device was carried by each of the members of the domain search party. Stone carvings in Samaria show winged beings using pine cone-shaped instruments to scan the bodies of human beings. They are also shown carrying the power unit for the scanner, which are depicted as stylized baskets or water buckets, being carried by eagle-headed winged beings.
Those handbags.
Yeah.
Those handbags seen all over the world.
That's what they're saying they are.
Whoa.
Is that they're the power sources for the pine cone technology meant to scan the ISBs to find their lost party members.
You know what it also reminds me of is like the use of psilocybin or like drugs even, like in like the mycelia networks around the earth. Like maybe they have some sort of way of, because we know that they communicate, these plants now, like we know that they communicate in some way. Maybe they are some sort of form of technology left behind.
Yeah.
Some sort of like organic technology. Anyway, keep going.
Members of the Airl unit of the domain search party led by Ahura Mazda were often called winged gods in human interpretations. Throughout the Persian civilization, there are a great many stone relief carvings that depict winged spacecraft that they called Faravahar. Members of the aquatic unit of the domain search party were called Oannes by local humans. Stone carvings of the so-called Oannes are shown wearing silver diving suits. They lived in the sea and appeared to the human population to be men dressed to look like fish. Some members of the Lost Battalion were found in the oceans inhabiting the bodies of dolphins or whales.
Wow. So yeah, mammals with capacities for intelligence, because we know that whales and dolphins have communication, they have social structure, they have they have all these things that humans do, but they're just in a different life form.
Do you think they were like, F these humans, I'm going to incarnate as a dolphin? Or
yeah, maybe
do you
they
think
had
there was a choice in the matter?
Well, maybe they were sent down to incarnate, right? So like maybe there was less of like, you're going to incarnate in this being, and it's more of like you're being sent down to incarnate, and whatever's available, you are going to incarnate in. And maybe
so it's
they
like
had
musical chairs, and depending on the population at the time, how many babies are being birthed.
Right. Well, and maybe in part of the whole birth cycle is part of this brainwashing amnesia effect. So whatever you incarnate into, whatever the birthing part of it is part of that system. So it doesn't matter what you're born into necessarily. You're going to forget what you were previous.
Sure.
So they don't really care what you incarnate into. And maybe Isbies themselves have to be born into some sort of mammal, maybe with higher intellect. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Maybe not. Maybe there's
that just limits their ability as a.
Which wouldn't hurt the old republic anyways. If you're, born into a frog, like you're not going to hurt them as a frog. Like you're not going to do anything damage to them as a frog or a bird or a.
But yeah, maybe Isbies of a certain development level require a certain development level of a physical being in order to incarnate into.
Or they choose, they have some sort of choice, right? And we don't know how smart, but we know that dolphins and whales have the capacity for high intellect and emotions and
I'm just saying, like, if they were to incarnate you into a single ant, I don't know that an ant body and brain would be sufficient to make you forget and dissociate yourself, right? Because you're not being embodied enough. Like, you're not taking full
not enough of you is being embodied. Yeah.
Right.
So then there's parts of you that may be free or are not incarnated.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
On land, the domain search party members were referred to as Anunnaki by the Sumerians and Nephilim in the Bible. Of course, their true mission and activities were never disclosed to Homo sapiens. Their activities have been purposely disguised. Therefore, the human stories and legends about the Anunnaki and other members of the domain search party have not been understood and were badly misinterpreted. In the absence of complete and accurate data, anyone observing a phenomena will assume or hypothesize explanations in the attempt to make sense of the data. Therefore, although mythology and history may be based on factual events, they are likewise full of misunderstood, misinterpreted evaluations of the data and embellished with assumptions, theories, and hypotheses which are false. The space unit of the Domain Expeditionary Force are shown flying in winged disc. This is an allusion to the spiritual power of the Isbi, as well as to the spacecraft used by the Domain Search Party. The commander of the Lost Battalion, as Cyrus II, was an Isbi who was regarded as a messiah on Earth by both the Jews and the Muslims. In less than 50 years, he established a highly ethical humanitarian philosophy which pervaded all of Western civilization. His territorial conquests, organization of people, and monumental building projects were unprecedented before or since. Such sweeping accomplishments in a short period of time could only have been achieved by a leader and a team of trained officers, pilots, and engineers, and crew members of a unit of the domain. Acting as a team who had been trained worked together for thousands of years. Although we have discovered the location of many of the Isbies in the Lost Battalion, the domain has been unable to restore their memory and return them to active duty as yet.
Okay. So even though they may have found some, they're not necessarily able to break the cycle. The cycle that they're in. That makes me think, because what we were talking about earlier, like this incarnation cycle, right? And like what they can and cannot incarnate into. And maybe if you don't incarnate, you are you're discarnate and you are a soul just floating around, but you cannot leave and you cannot reincarnate, or maybe you can, but you have to go through some sort of process. So that's could give credence to a lot of this like phenomena that we see, like where ghosts and spiritual stuff, and like where there are some sort of force out, so Isbies that are interacting with us in some way.
Yeah, I mean, if the machine is real, then like any machine has weird breakdowns. And,
or blind spots or this or that. Yeah.
Little things can slip through the cracks in there. None of them are perfect.
Especially if it's not being controlled anymore.
Right. Of course, we cannot transport ISBs who are inhabiting biological bodies to the space stations of the domain since there is no oxygen in our spacecraft. We also do not maintain life support facilities for biological entities there. Our only hope has been to locate and rekindle the awareness, memory, and identity of the ISBs of the Lost Battalion. One day they will be capable of rejoining us. See, that part's confusing to me because how hard could it be to build an area with life support and bring them onto your craft? And then what? If they die there, maybe they're outside the range of the reincarnation machine.
Unless there's some sort of, extenuating circumstances that just disallows them to bring our physical bodies with them.
I'm just saying, even if the physical body was to die, then
then you could be like,
hey, you're outside of the range of the Earth, maybe you can break the cycle that way, but maybe not. Maybe it's sort of magnetically tied in somehow.
It sounds like our ISB selves are somehow like stamped to this region in some way.
Yeah. 200 BCE. The last remnant of the old empire pyramid civilization is at Teotihuacan. The Aztec name means place of the gods, or where men were transformed into gods. Like the astronomical configuration of the Giza pyramids in Egypt, the entire complex is a precise scale model of the solar system that accurately reflects the orbital distances of the inner planets, the asteroid belt, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Since the planet Uranus has only been discovered with modern Earth telescopes in 1787 and Pluto not until 1930, it is apparent that the builders had information from other sources. A common element of the pyramid civilizations around the Earth is the constant use of the image of the snake, dragon, or serpent. This is because the beings who planted these civilizations here want to create an illusion that the gods are reptilian. This is also a part of an illusion designed to perpetuate amnesia. The beings who place false civilizations on Earth are ISBs just like you. Many of the biological bodies inhabited by ISBs in the old empire are very similar in appearance to the bodies on Earth. The gods are not reptiles, although they often behave like snakes.
Interesting.
1034 to 1124 AD. So we're finally on this side of the timeline.
All right.
The entire Arab world was enslaved by one man, Hassan ibn al-Sabah, the old man of the mountain. He established the Hashashin, that's extra shahs.
Hashashin?
Yes, who operated part of the Mohammedanism, which controlled by terror and fear much of India, Asia Minor, and most of the Mediterranean basin. They became a priesthood that used an extremely effective mind control mechanism and extortion tool that enabled the assassins to control the civilized world for several hundred years. Their method was simple. Young men were kidnapped and knocked unconscious with hashish. They were taken to a garden filled with beautiful black-eyed Auris in a harem decorated with rivers of milk and honey. The young men were told that they were in paradise. They were promised they could return to live there forever if they sacrificed themselves as an assassin of whomever they were commanded to kill. The men were knocked out again and shoved out into the world to carry out the assassination mission. So it sounds like
sleeper cells.
Yeah, like they were using, like they basically created this garden to like give them the illusion of seeing the afterlife.
Mesmerize them, yeah. And they were imprinted with a task, and then they were knocked out and sent back to complete their task in order to get to the garden that they were foreseen to have.
Yeah, that they were given a taste of, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the old man of the mountain sent messenger to the Caliph or whatever wealthy ruler from whom they demanded payment, demanding camel loads of gold, spices, incense, or other valuables. If payment did not arrive on time, the assassin would be sent to kill the offending party. There was virtually no defense against the unknown assailant who wanted nothing more than to carry out his mission, be killed, and return to heaven. This is a very crude example of how simple and effective brainwashing and mind control operation can be when it is used skillfully and forcefully. It is a small-scale demonstration of how the amnesia mind control operation is used against the entire Isby population on Earth by the old empire.
Interesting. So it's a brainwashing scheme within a brainwashing scheme.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is like a specific example showing how this type of thing can work.
Yeah.
1119 AD, the Knights Templar was established as a Christian military unit after the First Crusade, but quickly transformed into the basis for the international banking system to accumulate money to conduct the agenda of operatives for the vestiges of the old empire on Earth.
Okay.
Getting into the banking conspiracy.
Yeah.
1135 to 1230 AD. The Domain Expeditionary Force completed the annihilation of the remaining remnants of the old Empire space fleet operating in the solar system around Earth. Unfortunately, their long-established thought control operations remains largely intact.
Because it's kind of a self-fulfilling thing now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the space war ends around then.
So the old empire's gone, but the structures that it created on Earth are continuing. And
well, their space fleet is gone.
Right.
There's still maybe old empire operatives on Earth and whatnot.
And the structures that they had created on Earth are still operating as well because it's so like 5-dimensionally inscribed within the population of the Earth. Like there's no breaking it that easily. You know, it's not just, hey, the empire's gone, we're free.
Yeah, exactly. 1307 AD, the Knights Templar was disbanded by King Philip IV of France, who was deeply in debt to the order. He pressured Pope Clement V to condemn the order's members, have them arrested, torture them into giving false confessions, and burn them at the stake in an effort to erase his debt by seizing all of their wealth. A majority of the Templars fled to Switzerland, where they established an international banking system which secretly controls the economy of Earth. The old empire objectives act as an unseen influence on international bankers. The banks are operated covertly as an on-combatant provocateur to covertly promote and finance weapons and warfare between the nations of Earth. Warfare is an international mechanism of control over the inmate population.
Yeah, sure seems to work.
The purpose of the senseless genocide and carnage of wars financed by these international banks is to prevent the Isbys of Earth from sharing open communication, cooperation together in activities that might enable Isbys to prosper, become enlightened, and escape their imprisonment. And that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, it sure seems to freaking work. Whether it's truly this narrative or not.
Right.
The international, warfare mongering, financiers.
Dude, we've only do
seem to keep us separated.
Yeah, we've only done a little bit on like banking and economics, and I think we're due for at some point like a whole
history of it all.
Banking conspiracy. Breakdown.
Go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. I want to reread some Georg Griffin or something.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. This was another episode on the alien interviews. Hope y'all liked it. Please like and subscribe, comment, rate, anything you can on whatever platform you're watching us on or listening to us on. If you want to watch us and you're listening, we're on YouTube and Rumble. If you guys want to see our faces as well as our voices during these podcasts. If you guys just wanted to listen, we got our Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you can find your podcast, we're on there. Please rate, like, subscribe. We really appreciate that. If you guys want to get everything in one-stop shop, go to our website, dualitycheck.net. Everything's on there. All the images, all the videos that we play, and all of the content. You can also reach out to us at host@dualitycheck.net. We read a message from Moose Canoo today, and that's how he reached out to us. So please feel free to email us.
You can also message us on like Instagram or Facebook as well. We'll get those.
Yep. Or comment on YouTube or Rumble or any of those platforms, and we'll be happy to read that at the beginning of our episodes, like we have been. So yeah, appreciate y'all hanging out with us this week.
And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you guys next time, where we talk about the biology.
Oh yeah, that's the next chapter, right?
It's a lesson in biology.
That's gonna be interesting. All right, y'all. See y'all next time. Later.
Adios.